So I grew up in a family of just Christian convenience. We went to church on Easter and we said a big prayer before Thanksgiving luncheon, but we were always late for the luncheon, so we missed that prayer for the year. It wasn't that my parents or my family didn't believe. It was just, it's there, you know that this is who God is, and move on with your life. My grandma, she did go to church, and I would stay the night with her sometimes, and we would go to church with her, and I remember they would do communion every Sunday. And so when I'd get home, because I couldn't partake in communion, I played communion naturally. So my sister and I would just play communion. Instead of a tea party, we'd have a communion party. And that was really it for growing up in a Christian home. I guess I was 10 or 11, my grandma died, and she was very young, and it left a huge void in my life, but also in my whole family's life. But I didn't have anything to fill that void and that grief. I didn't know what to do. I mean, what do you do when your family's not going to church and you're like, I think that's going to help me out. So I started walking just down the road, and the church was a Spanish-English church, and I don't speak a lick of Spanish, but I thought it was fabulous. I was so captivated by it. It really wasn't until I got to college that I found out who Jesus was and the freedom and the grace. And I met a guy, I liked him, he liked me, but he wasn't a believer. It's like, oh man, this Jesus gig has been going on for 10 years in my life. I really can't abandon that. So I kind of shared with him what I knew, take it or leave it, but this is the train I'm going on. And if you want to join this train, Jesus is with me. And the Lord moved in his heart, and he was saved. And we got married out of college. We even tried to figure out, what does a marriage look like when it's built around the Lord? Because we didn't see that. Neither of us knew that. Growing up, I had two sisters. I have a sister who's 5 years older, and she and I are incredibly close. And then I had a sister who's 10 years younger, but she had a rare genetic disorder, and she was very ill. 1 year into our marriage, we realized that my sister's not doing so well. Her health isn't so great. So every Sunday, I would drive the hour and go pick her up, and she would come and go to church with us. When she was 15, she was going to go in for another surgery, and we knew we were all kind of shooting from the hip on this last surgery. My mom, my dad, and I went to talk to the surgeon beforehand. We're like, all right, what's going to be? And he says, well, we can't do the surgery, and she has about a week to live. I prayed so much with Alex that week. I remember sitting there in the living room, and we just talked to Jesus and just said, man, this has to be real. That prayer was never more real or impactful for my faith and my family than any other prayer we've said. Because a few days later, she passed away there. We knew that she was having this conversation with Jesus, and my whole family got to witness it. And I thought, if that whole faith, that whole time where Jesus was seeking me out and whispering to me, if all that was to come and be able to pour into my younger sister so that these 15 years on life weren't wasted, then so be it. Let my life get wrapped up right then. It was all worth it. We're still seeking after the Lord more, and we're still trying to pour that deeper into our family. We want to raise our kids knowing that this is not a drill. All this stuff we're doing, we're not just pretending, and we're not just telling stories. This is real. Because of what I've seen the Lord do, my faith is greater, and I trust that he will continue a good work in my mom and my dad. They're closer to the Lord than they were 20 years ago, no doubt. But more than that, for our kids, that their lives would be so filled with a purpose of seeking after the Lord, that they would know the joy of the Lord more so than I've ever known it. And that they would just live out even a greater faith than either Mike or I have, and that their kids will go on to say, man, I'm so thankful that they chose to follow the Lord, and their kids' kids, and it will just continue and continue. And I know that the Lord's faithful, and He can do it, and He will do it.